allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we stay standing for a moment of silence for Marie Dettori, a township employee for many years? She passed away today. Open Public Meetings Act.
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting was forwarded to the official township newspapers, posted on the bulletin board and township website on January 8th, 2021. This meeting is being videotaped and will be on Channel 9.
Roll call.
Mr. Doyle?
Here.
Mr. Deegan?
Here.
Mrs. Pesh-Wilson?
Here.
Mrs. Flame?
Here.
Mayor Bruno?
Here. Public hearing. I get a motion to open the public hearing on 0521, amending and replacing Chapter 98-49 of the Code of the Township of Franklin.
I make a motion that we open the public hearing for 0521.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
Good evening.
Township Committee. Again, many times in changing police ordinances, there are reasons for it, obviously, and this one seems to change some of the percentage variance. Was there any particular driving reason for doing this, Mr. Mayor?
Some few individuals, I guess, called a grievance, filed a grievance about the scoring, how it was, they didn't feel it was fair. So we looked at it, we had Labor Council look at it, and, that's what they came up with. changing it.
Again, Mr. Mayor, it's certainly within your prerogative to change the scoring procedures and to do things. Was the chief of police consulted in what you did?
The chief of police was consulted at the end, I believe, before, I think it was laid out to him.
Right.
by
Yeah, Heather and I met
police
with him.
liaisons.
And the Public Safety Committee were both in favor
They
of
were-
it?
they
So
were there.
great. Very good. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Mayor.
Can I get a motion to close the public hearing on 0521?
I make a motion that we close the public hearing on 0521.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to adopt 0521?
I make a motion that we adopt 0521.
I'll second.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh-Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Due to the fact that I'm still indifferent and not happy with some of the scoring, I'm saying no.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing on 0621, prohibiting the operation of Class 5 and 6 of cannabis business within its geographical boundaries and amending section of the Franklin Code.
I make a motion that we go into the public hearing for 0621.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're going to open the public hearing on 0621. Anyone wishing to speak? Sure.
My name is Daniel Petit from 663 Rosemont Avenue. You spoke to Antoinette. I had a little problem with my neighbors next door.
Yes.
It's not about, we're on public hearing.
Oh, this is something different. You can't.
Yeah.
That's coming in the public session.
Yeah, well, I'm really unhappy the way Franklin Township handled the whole issue.
Sir, this is a hearing on another matter. It's a public hearing.
I thought I could.
You'll have a chance to speak
I went up
at the
too
next
early.
In a little
portion.
more.
Second
Yeah,
public
I'm sorry.
portion.
That's
No
all right.
problem,
You're all
no
right.
problem.
I misheard.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, William Morris, 585 Oak Avenue.
Good evening.
I would hope that the committee would consider tabling this ordinance. I think it's premature. It has to be, if you're going to pass it, it has to be on the books by August. We should look at other options like zoning to restrict, to see if it's possible to restrict where it's at so we can get some revenue out of it.
Matt? Any comment?
Well, it's stated correctly that we can of course allow these. The state law gives the Township Committee discretion on each of the 6 classes. The Township Committee has introduced this ordinance, which would prohibit classes 5 and 6, retail and delivery, and allows the other 4 classes, cultivation, the quote farming classes. The deadline is August 21st or 22nd, but again, you know, the Township Committee has the full discretion to prohibit these 2 uses.
There are some neighboring towns like Millville that are looking at putting zoning restrictions in to control it. I would like the Township Committee to look at that before they would pass an ordinance of this nature. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mayor, just to qualify, the four classes being permitted will be taxed locally.
Harry Kennedy, 1578 Fry's Mill Road. And again, you know, it's something that many people up there have a, you know, a personal experience with, unfortunately. And many, I don't mean you smoking pot or a bomb. I mean that many families in Franklin Township have gone through the horrors of drug addiction and the pain that it causes and the terror that it causes. And many people in Franklin Township have gone through the pain of alcoholism and gone through the pain of losing relatives in car crashes. It's an area that causes angst among people that are on governing bodies, and we can see that some along the shore are banning it altogether. And the only question would be is if you're going to allow the growth of it, and you're going to allow the agricultural use of it, and you're going to allow people to make money by doing that. It's sort of like allowing stills during the area of Prohibition. You're allowing it to be grown, but you're not allowing it to be sold. It can still be sold in adjoining communities, and it will be. And it can still be sold in most of the places in the state. And I think that a lot of us, those of us that have and haven't used marijuana, understand that there were only 3 municipalities in the whole state. Only 3 in the whole state that voted against legalizing marijuana. That means that every other municipality in the state of New Jersey did it. If you're going to allow it to grow here, if you're going to allow people to produce it, if you're going to allow the stills to be here, maybe you don't, as Mr. Morris said, maybe you don't want to foreclose the other options right now. Because as the solicitor so eloquently pointed out, the other areas are a source of revenue, as would be the retail consumption, a source of revenue. And it's very well guarded, very well protected, very well policed. And again, I'm not going to speak as my experience as 20 years in teaching in public school. And I'm not going to speak as the former public safety director of Franklin Township. But I'm going to make a wild guess, Mr. Mayor, and I'm sure your time on the school board, with whatever we dealt with, we realized that there are retail sales of that particular drug at virtually every high school in the state of New Jersey. I mean, it happens, unfortunately. It's a pretty widespread problem. By allowing the retail distribution of it, you're very much limiting it, and you're having uniformed police, I believe, would have to be there in terms of who would have access to it. I believe they must have it in terms of their security. And again, I don't mean the uniformed police of Franklin Township. I mean, much the same way we have school resource officers who are affiliated, armed guards, people that would make sure and do all the necessary background checks as to what's necessary. And I think Mr. Morris is absolutely right. Millville is going through the same thing. They've allowed their zoning and planning board to take a look at it. You have very competent boards. You have some people that have served for over 31 years on the zoning board. What a contribution they've made to this township. And to not allow them to participate in that discussion and the ability to make that decision might be a little short-sighted. Again, As a revenue source, I know that you're interested in tax revenue, and again, maybe just take it to the next step and have the zoning and planning board look at it, and then make your final decision. We're not that rich a township, and again, only 3 municipalities in the entire state of New Jersey voted not to legalize marijuana. Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Can I get him? Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening. My name's Tina DeSilvio, 698 Franklinville. I just wanted to find out, like, have you talked to any other municipalities in the area? I know Monroe just recently opened up a dispensary on the Black Horse Pike.
Medical dispensary, correct?
Yes. So the retail, you're only looking at recreational, or there's
I
a,
think we're banning all.
because right now you can't buy recreational. You're allowed to get
Right.
caught with it, but you can't buy it legally.
And this is
Figure
being
that one out.
pushed by the state. We have to do this, one way or the other, correct?
Yeah, they put, well, or a failure to act would make it permitted within our township, all 6 classes.
But we have the option, every 5 years, this comes up for renewal, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. And if we see, our concern, as it's worded in the ordinance here, is the uncertainties of how everything's going to be handled. So again, I'm just looking at it, let everybody else do the test run. Once everything's nailed down, and I'm talking about recreational sales. I have no issue with what's named for medical use. But it falls under that giant loophole of retail is retail. And but in 5 years, we have the option to go back and change our decision.
It might take 5 years until they get their act together anyway
That's
with
possible.
recreational. Well, I just wanted to say, my daughter, who is now 21, at the age of 13, she was having over 100 seizures a day. And I didn't have much hope with anything. We did brain surgery, we did umpteen different medications and so forth, and it was medical marijuana that helped my daughter, but I had to drive 3 hours round trip. And that almost made my decision to not do it. So to have something local on a medicinal level, locally, I commend everyone for voting for, or looking to vote for it to be grown here. But we're in a good location, in my opinion, to have it grown here. But I would like it to be considered to be tabled this evening, just to put a little bit more research into it. I'm not saying I know what you researched, I don't.
Have you ever been to a state where it was legal and saw how they sell it?
I have, but, see, that was the thing too. When I went to go get my daughters, I didn't know, I was going on YouTube.
Right.
What does a dispensary look like, and you don't want to see what you get because it's people that claim to be dispensaries.
I totally support medical, and I think it's great, but I've been to states where it looks like a candy aisle. It's gummy bears, and I've been there, and,
Well, edibles right now are really,
but my point is,
as far as New
that's
Jersey
retail.
goes.
The problem is it's retail sales.
Just to clarify though, we're not, and we haven't been given the statutory authority to ban the medical functions. Quite frankly, it is heavily regulated by the state, and the licenses are so limited, the likelihood of it appearing here anytime soon is, as you probably know, next to zero.
Right.
But that's a separate process, and that's not under consideration tonight. We're addressing retail recreational marijuana, adult retail recreational marijuana.
They differentiated the two.
Yeah. They're enabled under separate statutes, and the licensing and approvals are going to, the recreational is going to dovetail off the existing medical and be governed by the same overall body. But again, the statute that allows adult recreational use does not allow us to take any action to prohibit medical facilities. It's governed under separate law. And again, I don't want to mislead you that it's likely to happen because of the separate
Sure.
limitations.
There's a lot more local
Yeah,
now
yeah,
than
yeah.
with
All this
Exactly.
stuff is really new, so.
Didn't they just open one in Washington Township?
Monroe or what? It's
Right in
the
front
corner
of Sam.
across
Yeah,
Keats, yes.
that's Monroe. That's a medical facility, a medical dispensary. correct.
And it's very discreet. When I went to Woodbridge, I wasn't sure what I was getting myself into. That, you never put on Facebook the worst of things, you put the best of things. So every angle of the shots of the building, I'm like, okay, well, I got this far, so, and I went there, and I was very impressed. And since then, different, Egg Harbor, and I've been to Belmar, and I was very impressed with the security, with the professionalism. There wasn't a bunch of, hippies out there, and nothing wrong with hippies, don't get me wrong.
They're
the most easygoing people.
But it's kind of hard to judge it just on that, for the sheer fact that the people that are there have a card. that says
Well,
they
that's
can
just
be
it,
there.
right.
Right. The recreational part is
Recreation
everybody.
could be anybody and everybody.
Well, yes and no, but, and there's a yes and a no for a reason I just said that, and I understand where you're coming from. If you could reconsider and table it for this evening, and, we still have a couple more months before August, just to think about it. Thanks, have a good night.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and everyone else. Beverly Merritt, 1054 Marshall Road in Franklinville. I also ask that you table that as well. If we're going to grow it and manufacture it here to be a dispensary, why not? If it's going to bring in revenue for the township, I could go either way when I leave my house and run into multiple liquor stores. I just had a brother that died of alcohol, so I know the effects of alcohol, but we sell it in this township. I don't think we're going to get drug dealers coming to a dispensary to buy marijuana. So, that's something to look at. If we're going to use our farmland here to grow it, why not? Something to think about. I would not immediately say absolutely positively no unless you look at the entire picture. And again, I probably would say drug dealers would come here to steal the weed from the ground that we grow it from and use it for their own personal benefits. They're certainly not going to go to a dispensary where it's, you got cops and people.
The facility where they're growing it is indoors, and it'll be fully secure. There's nowhere where they're going to be growing it in fields.
Where there's a will, there's a way. You know what I mean? I look at it that. I'm just saying, I do believe we should look at it differently and maybe, come back and talk about it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Matt, did they set up anything as far as a statute, as far as how close to schools that the dispensaries can be set?
There's no requirement, but there's absolutely the right for us to regulate that, similar to other businesses.
And that would fall under zoning as well?
Yeah.
Okay, thank
We're
you.
going to do that, to have minimum setbacks, whether it's similar facilities, churches, preschools, school facilities.
Now, Matt, I have another question. Who decides who can sell?
The state cannabis
So the state,
There's a commission that was
is it
seated.
going to, if there's a resident that owns a commercial facility in town, right? Can that resident say, I want to sell marijuana?
No, it's up to the Township Committee.
So we decide who would be able to.
Now, you decide if they can, but who actually gets it would go through the state, would go through the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, which was just seated
So
within
it
the
could
last 2
be
weeks.
someone outside of Franklin Township, outside of Gloucester County?
Now, the approval process requires that to operate in our town, you have to either live in our town, this is for the retail, live in our town, or an adjacent municipality. So it would have to not just be either in town or in county. It couldn't be somebody from Westville.
But ultimately, we wouldn't make that decision.
You would
State of
not.
New Jersey.
You would not if they made it through the licensing procedure in Trenton and the review process. They would be granted a license, and if we permit, we wouldn't have a say as to say, well, we didn't mean you or anything like that. We wouldn't have any discretion once that was addressed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. Barbara Dougherty, Clearfield Avenue, Franklinville. I have a question about, I don't know which part of this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Are we also considering the processing? Is that one of these
That's one
parts of
the first
this?
four, correct?
Yeah, it would be, yes, anything short of retail or delivery would be encompassed in the first 4 categories.
I think we need to do a lot more studying about the effects of a processing plant. Have you seen any of the studies, the literature that's available from some of these places where they do the processing?
Depends what.
Anybody?
Respect to what?
In
Well,
respect
what-
to the
what was-
odor, in respect to the traffic, in respect to a lot of different things.
The facility that was approved is, they have a HEPA filter. It's all medical, so there's no smell. And when you say processing, that could be putting it in a bag?
Well, no,
It could be
it was,
a lot of different things.
I don't know if they're
Extraction.
burning something, they're doing something, and the
That's from
people
the-
that lived around this plant said that it smelled like 100 skunks died,
Right.
all at the same time.
Now, when they came before the zoning board, I believe it was, they said that the air gets filtrated 6 times.
It's
And
basically
people
alcohol.
outside won't even know what's going on in the facility, nor will the people in the facility. It's
Right.
not an issue with them getting high off of the odors and stuff like that. So it was a very reputable, they have 2 different facilities now, California and Las Vegas, Nevada. and,
Is this a Canadian company?
I think they're from Maryland.
I don't-
Ultimately, the person's from Maryland.
I'm sorry?
Maryland.
Maryland, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
There were a couple of requests. Can I get a motion to table 0621?
Make a motion to table 0621.
Second?
All
Mr.
in
Doyle?
favor?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes,
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Thank you for the comments. Can I get a motion to open the first public portion for resolutions and ordinances below?
I make a motion that we go into the first public portion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Well, you should have sat closer tonight.
You're getting your steps in tonight.
Good evening, again, Mr. Mayor and Committee. William Morris, 585 Oak Avenue. I have a concern about Resolution 7721. That's either a 10-year or older vehicle that we're going to take on. I mean, how many miles are on it and all that?
Do you know, Chief?
Are we getting a pig in a poke?
I didn't see the vehicle, Ron?
You referencing the canine car?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to be a spare vehicle. We've run into problems with our cars not being on the road and having no way to transport our dogs. So they were gracious enough to give us this vehicle. We went and looked at it. It just turned 100,000 miles. It's not going to be used every day. It's going to be used on the basis that these dogs need to be transported in the event that our cars go down.
Okay, thank you.
It's not a patrol vehicle.
Thank you, Brian.
Not a beater car?
No.
Can I get a motion to close the first public portion?
I make a motion we close the first public portion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve correspondence and reports?
Make a motion to approve correspondence and reports.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve minutes from April 14th, 2021, please?
Make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second, but I have to excuse myself
You weren't here.
because
just wanted
I
to-
wasn't here.
And I kind of came late from a volleyball match.
Come on, we're running out of bodies here.
Oh, jeez. Never that.
Got a second, Dave?
How about, Tim, you weren't here?
I was here.
Yeah. I made the initial motion.
Second.
Second it, Mary, even though you can't vote?
Can I second it even though
Second,
I
I'll
can't?
second it, I'll
Even though I
second it.
wasn't here?
Tim got it.
Tim already seconded it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those who weren't here?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve the bill list, please?
I make a motion that we approve the bill list. I do have one question, though. There was a towing charge on there for $2,900. Was that the accident with the what's in the trash
that
truck?
Wasn't it the sliding off the road truck?
Salt truck.
Salt truck that slid off the road and flipped over? Where the bed busted off?
Wow, that long for them
The
to?
bed was laying on the ground. It was.
Well, I meant it took them that
6
long to bill us. You know, I remember the incident. I was saying we just got billed. But,
Took us that long
Okay.
time.
We got reimbursed from the insurance carrier at that point.
okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Except,
Except.
Laura? We had a second.
Okay. Mr. Deegan?
Yes,
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Taking a motion to approve approve a raffle license for Oasis Animal Sanctuary.
make a motion to approve the raffle license.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve resolution R 7321, authorizing the CFO to refund a construction application fee in the amount of $498 to RCL Enterprises, Inc.
I make a motion that we approve R 7321.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 7421, authorizing the tax collector and chief financial officer to grant tax exemption for a totally disabled veteran.
I make a motion that we approve R 7421.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 7521, authorizing emergency temporary budget.
I make a motion that we approve R 7521.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve R 7621, authorizing a closed executive meeting for the Township Committee of the Township of Franklin.
I make a motion to approve R 7621.
Second? Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 7721, accepting donation of a Ford Crown Victoria vehicle for police canine use from the Township of Morristown.
I make a motion that we approve R 7721.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 7821, authorizing a temporary trailer permit in accordance with the ordinances of Franklin Township?
I make a motion that we approve R 7821.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. I read that next one? Do I read the next part?
Yeah.
No, we'll read that one before we go in.
Okay.
So then you go to the second portion.
Yep. Can I get a motion to open the second public portion for any comments?
I make a motion that we open the second public portion.
A second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Sir, this would be your opportunity. I don't want you to miss it.
My name's Daniel Petit from 663 Rosemont Avenue, Newfield. I've had a problem with my neighbor back in September. It's been ongoing. I'm very upset with the handling of the way the township handled it. They kept telling me it was a property line issue, and it was not. There was no dispute over the property line. I knew where it was. I had it marked clearly. But the delay with getting the zoning inspector out there, then he didn't even get out of his car, didn't look at anything, didn't find them for 2 months. I finally had to go and have the surveyor come out and mark it 50 feet all the way down the property line for these people to get their trash and their car off of my property and trailer. And it shouldn't have took that long. The township should have handled it. And now I'm stuck with, I paid $300 for a survey. I put up a fence so I don't have to look at their trash. 5 sections of 6-foot fence. It cost me $800. Now I have to take these people to court because the township didn't react. I don't think it's right. Antoinette spoke to you?
Correct.
You never got back to her about the fine.
Because she called and talked to, she asked me and I couldn't find out that information. No one told me if they were fined. I wasn't sure. if
I believe they got fined today because they added a fence to mine with post and vinyl siding with nails and stuff sticking out of it and bricks laying on my property. So I believe they got fined today. I don't know for sure.
We haven't had a full-time zoning officer in over a year.
Yeah,
So there's been
I'm
a lot.
aware of that. That's the problem.
Yeah, you're right. And we've been working to hire somebody. We've just found the person. And
I mean, Chief Zimmer helped me out a lot with everything. I appreciate that.
Hey, I think your wife talked to her today.
Yeah.
and asked her that.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of zoning stuff that wasn't getting done correctly for a long time. So we're aware we apologize, and hopefully by having a person
But that's
here-
not going to fix my buffer and the money I put out. Somebody should be accountable for that, whether it's the township, whether the township goes after them, something should be done.
Did you just say they got fined today?
That's what I believe for the fence.
No, court's Thursday.
Or somebody went out, somebody came out today. They didn't get out of the car, but they came out and looked.
Where's Mary? Wasn't in today.
There's a black, I guess, Expedition. Looked like a township car.
And they were fine, she was fine.
But, so I'd just like to know what the township plans on doing. Well,
Matt,
I don't see, other than the enforcement issues that we're talking about that are occurring now and under the guise of the new zoning officer, what legal recourse we have at this point, Mayor. But as Committeeman Doyle said, we have somebody who's addressing not only individual properties, but all these issues that we've been dealing with for the last several months. So I expect that list to, continue to move.
so I guess I'll be hearing from zoning with any time
Who's
soon.
Mayor?
And
Excuse me?
we can follow up
Rosemary.
and ask her what the status is.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mayor Bruno, I have this letter, it's dated 2011, so it's been going back and forth for a while. I would like to submit it to this committee, maybe you can help me out on it. It was a situation that I had at Delsey Regional High School that I keep going back and forth with. I know there's lawyers up here in the township, maybe you can get me some answers. I have an important hearing coming up that I need a lot of information in reference to this case. At the time it happened, I did come to the police station. Delsey Regional stated that, no, the police in Franklin Township said I could not file a grievance or could not file a press charges against the individual unless the school pressed charges against the individual. It was a case where the teacher, I'll tell you a little bit
Would you
about.
rather us read that?
Oh, you want me to read it?
No. Would you rather us read it, or you want to read it?
Oh, you can read it.
Instead of going through,
Oh,
it's up to
somebody,
you.
If you want to give it to Mr. Lyons, we'll
to
read it.
who?
Mr. Lyons.
Oh, Mr. Lyons.
We'll get copies of it.
Thank you.
And there's requests in there from you, correct?
Well, that's just the letter that was going back and
Is
forth.
that the historical value?
Well, it starts, yeah. But there was a legal fees, and of course, I was a single parent back there, so I couldn't pay a whole lot of legal fees. I feel as though my son was raped of his innocence in Delsey. Even Frank Borelli was there. So no, I'm just seeking, maybe you can help me get some information as to what actually happened. I found money in my son's room. He was a minor. I didn't know where it came from. He finally fessed up and told me one of the teachers had paid him to do, and I didn't know why his grades was dropping, but he didn't have time to do his homework because he was doing the teacher's homework who was working towards his master's. So he ended up writing a few papers. He solicited help from other people. It was a big mess, so I hired a lawyer, and nobody, I went to the township, I went to the police station. Mr. Borelli was involved. So I know there has to be a packet somewhere, and I know this teacher is somewhere teaching kids like that look like my son again. My son does not really want to come back to Franklin Township. He's serving this great country of ours because of the stuff that happened to him at Delsey. And I still think, although it was in 2011, there still needs to be some type of accountability. He exploited the services of 2 of my kids, and only thing that they told me at the time is, well, Ms. Merritt, how can we make this go away? They made it go away by letting the teacher resign. To teach, I have tracked him down. He is teaching again, and I have a son that is 2 children that really don't want any part of Franklin Township because of the things that they went through. So if you can help me
We'll
and,
see, can't promise you, we will try and help
Yeah,
you.
well-
Let me just be clear, if I could, Des.
Yes.
Does Mr. Silva still represent you?
no, that's been, I mean, he will represent me if I call him. I mean, I have a different attorney now, but he was the one that I
Who's
went.
your current attorney? Who is your current attorney?
My husband has an attorney and I have but not representing this case right now.
If
I
you
just.
wanna-
Okay, I'm just trying to get clear
If you
as,
want to tell Mr. Lyons.
Yeah, you don't have
off
to
the
tell me
side
Yeah,
in
afterwards,
public.
Yes.
so
If you wanna-
it's not
Yeah.
public knowledge,
you can either write it down or send it
Yes.
to me.
So I mean, I just would like, it's been going back and forth, and I've been at rallies, and I've been letting it know that we don't want to say things or you know, I don't want to, but,
Understood.
thank you, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. Renee Pastilli, Leah 40, 2787 East Grand Avenue. Just one quick question. When you come out from closed session, if you're going to have, it says potential settlement. If there is a settlement, is the public going to know tonight on how much the settlement was?
Yes.
Thank you.
Dollar amount?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Can I get a motion to close the second public portion?
I make a motion that we close the second public portion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Committee reports?
None at this time. I saw you looking at me.
You beat me to it. I was looking.
Unfortunately, I was away, so I don't have any at this time. I know the senior advisory is starting their meetings back up, I believe the first or second week of May. Dave, you might have gotten the same email, I think. So I hope to, I'm playing catch up and I hope to have a lot more for you next meeting.
I know the Unity Committee had a cleanup.
Yes.
They did some good
Yes.
things around the town, so once again, I want to thank them.
Absolutely.
And that would be it.
Spring sports are starting up, opening day is coming for the Franklin Township Little League. I know the girls' field hockey is also having some clinics down at the Forest Grove complex also, so it's great to see the kids back out there and having fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thank you. I don't really have anything, other than like what Dave said. Maybe if you get a chance, even if you don't have any kids in the program, ride out to the Little League field or the field hockey field, or go over to Delsey or go over to any school and watch these kids play, because it was a long year for these spring sport kids. They missed out on a whole year of activities, and anything you can do to support them, we appreciate it. So, can I get a motion to go into close?
I make a motion that we go into closed session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And Mayor, for the record, there is action potentially after the closed session.
Line?
Yes, Mayor. The first matter would fall as number 7, Resolution 79, which would be to approve the settlement and general release in the matter of Charles Bosco versus Franklin Township, U.S. District Court Case 1:20-03440. The terms of the settlement would require the township payment of the paid time off in the amount of $16,809 and an additional contribution from the township's insurance carrier of $40,691. And the employee has agreed to resign from employ. Again, Mayor, that is Resolution 79, approval of settlement agreement and general release in the case as cited.
All right, so can I get a motion to approve R 7921?
I make a motion that we approve R 7921.
I'll second.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh-Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes.
Mayor, the other matter would be Resolution 80, would be to declare the developers in the redevelopment developers Stanker and Galato in default and notifying them of the termination of the redevelopment agreement.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve R 8021?
I make a motion that we approve R 8021.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. And can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming out tonight.